Hey kids, look at some practice problems for figuring out the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that's going to pass through a given point and is parallel to a given equation. So let's go ahead and we'll look at number 8 because 8's got some negative numbers. So my original equation is 3x minus y equals 5. This is not in y-intercept form, so I couldn't graph the equation of the line from this, so I'm going to change the equation into y-intercept form. To do that, I can move my 3 over the equal sign. This will go away because it'll equal just 0. I'll be left with negative y equals negative 3x plus 5. It's plus 5 because that's a positive 5. Now, in y equals mx plus b, it's a positive y. So there's an invisible negative 1, and I can divide the whole equation by a negative 1 to get my y to be positive. A negative 3 divided by a negative 1 is just a positive 3x. Positive 5 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 5. So now I have the equation of my original line, which I could graph if I wanted to. And it would look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My y-intercept is at negative 5 because that's my b. And my slope is 3 over 1, 3 over 1, 3 over 1. And so that line will look like that, okay? Now, I want to know the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through the given point. And the given point in number 8 is negative 1, negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2. So that's the point. This point isn't even on the line. That's because I want the line that is parallel to this line, all right? So to find that equation of the line, I can use the same slope because they're parallel. And so parallel means, I'll write it out, the same slope. So I'll use the slope from the given equation, which is 3. I have a point that they gave me, which is negative 1, negative 2. Now, with a point and with slope, I can use the equation. I can use the point-slope equation, which you should have memorized by now, but just in case you don't, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'll plug in values for my y1, my m, and my x1. Those values I'll plug in is a negative 2 for my y, so I'll get y minus a negative 2 equals my m, which is 3, times x minus my x1 is a negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Minus a negative is always a plus. 3 times x plus 1. So this is the equation of the line that's parallel to this line and hits this point, but it's in point-slope form. I want it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and change it around so that way it'll eventually look like y equals mx plus b. So to do that, I'll distribute my 3, and I'll get 3x plus 3. I need my y all alone, so I'll move my 2 over. To do that, I'll subtract 2 from the side, zeroing this out, and subtract 2 from this side so it stays even. And I'll get y equals 3x plus 1. And so that's the equation of the line that is parallel to this one. And we can graph it. My y-intercept is plus 1, and my slope is the same. It's 3 over 1. So I can go up 3 over 1. I can go down 3 over 1. Hey, it hits. And so that's why I know that these two lines are parallel. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at one that's perpendicular, because that's the other thing that we were working on. So we're going to go ahead and move the paper a little bit. We're going to go into the next section. From here, we want an equation in slope-intercept form of a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the graph of the given equation. So let's find one that's in standard form that maybe's got a negative in it. Let's try number 21, all right? So my original equation for 21 is 2x minus 5y equals a negative 10. I don't know what the graph of this looks like because it's not in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to rearrange my equation. I'll move my x to the other side of the equal sign. This will zero out, so I won't have anything. I'll be left with negative 5y equals negative 2x plus 10. And then I'll divide everything by a negative 5 to get my y alone and positive. So I'll get y equals negative 2 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 2/5 x plus 10 divided by a negative 5 is a negative 2. So let's clean that up. It'll be y equals 2/5 x minus 2. That's the equation of my original line. So if I wanted to graph that, all right, it would look something like this. I'd be minus 2, that's my y-intercept, and then this gives me directions for 2 over 5, so I'm going to go up 2 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and that's as far as my graph goes, so I'll go the opposite way. I'll go down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so the original graph looks something like this. I want to know the graph that is perpendicular to this and hits to the point 4, negative 5. So 4, negative 5 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I actually don't know if this is going to hit on my graph, but I want to know the line that's going to be perpendicular. Okay, so it's going to hit it at a right angle. So I've got a point that they gave me. I've got 4, negative 5. I also know the slope of the line that it's going to be perpendicular to. That was 2/5, right? Well, when I want the slope that's perpendicular, or in a line that's perpendicular to the original one, I look at the original slope, I flip it, that's called the reciprocal, and I change the sign. That's called the opposite reciprocal. So this is the slope I'll use for that perpendicular line. And here, just like last time, I've got a point, I've got a slope, so I can use my point slope formula of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and I'll just plug in my values. I've got my x and my y values, so I'll do y minus a negative 5 equals my slope, negative 5 over 2 times x minus my x value, which is a 4. And this is in point slope form. I want it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to rearrange it. I'll distribute first, and I'll get y, I'm going to change that to plus 5 equals negative 5 over 2x, negative 5 over 2 times 4. That negative times a 4 is a 20, positive 20, and then 2 times 1, because there's an invisible denominator of 1 underneath every whole number, would just be 2. So I can clean that up a little bit. I'll do y plus 5 equals negative 5 over 2x plus 10. And then from here, I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. I can subtract 5 from each side to get my y all alone, and I'll be left with y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 5. So that's the equation of the line that is going to be perpendicular to my original line. So I can go ahead and graph that one. My y-intercept is going to be at 5. That's way up here. And then my slope is a negative 5 over 2. So I'll go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2. And then I'll go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2, and it hits. So that's the equation of the line that is perpendicular to my original line. And that's how you solve the problems.